Well, hello there. My name is John Meyer. I recently made a trip to Nashville, Tennessee for both vacation and to meet up with some friends that I work with from afar, some of which I have never met in person. My first stop was the home studio of Scott Roush and his wife Tara and their chickens, one of which was named Nicole Kitten, but I don't know which one.
We're originally from the Midwest, and then we met in Denver.
Yeah, Tara's from Champaign, Illinois, and I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We lived in Denver I lived there for 10 years. Tara lived there for 5 years. I think the biggest reason why we moved here was we wanted to buy a house, and we loved the place that we got here, for reasons like backyard chickens, and it's pretty normal to have backyard chickens in Tennessee.
I met Scott a few months ago at the Production Music Conference in LA, and while we were at dinner, he talked about this set of gongs that his parents brought him from Vietnam, and how he liked to play them muted, laying on the ground with brushes. And since I like to play everything muted with brushes, I asked if we could sample them.
My parents are avid outdoor adventurous enthusiasts, and they went on a canoeing trip in Vietnam. One of the villages that they were in happened to have a percussion musical instrument manufacturer. So they were able to go to a store and they purchased several Vietnamese instruments, including this set of gongs.
In a future video, I'll share the samples that we made, and I'll go in depth on how we recorded each sample, the mics we used, and all that stuff. But for now, I'm going to give you a tour of his amazing studio. It is a percussionist playground. Scott's a talented producer, a production music composer, and he does some consulting for those of you that might need some help in that area, so look in the description below for more information about what Scott's up to.
Aside from the bongos, these other instruments also came from Vietnam, the same trip as the gongs. I will have to look up what the official names are for them. This is a woodblock tree, a bunch of wood blocks attached to a wooden stand. Beautifully engineered, it all fits together, it's all labeled and it all fits together in a certain way. It has several wood blocks that are mounted up high. And then it also has these long wood blocks. They have a ribbed edge so you can scrape them, which I think is super cool. I love weird percussion instruments, and this definitely ticks a lot of boxes for me. It has multiple articulations. These are the mallets that came with it. They're also made out of wood. I will sometimes use hard rubber or soft rubber. I'll play these with brushes. I just played these on an indie rock track that somebody, they wanted it had like a little bit more of a 6/8 polyrhythmic feel, and I added some woodblock textures in to multiple, with the drum kit, with other things. These are all made out of bamboo xylophones. These are pretty fun. You hit these with these paddles. They have like a soft side and a leather side to them. You simply hit the opening. These are meant to be played with mallets. I have a large bamboo xylophone and a small one. So this is the large one. Unfortunately, last winter, some of these bamboo tubes cracked in the dry weather. I was not prepared for that. So now I've got some dead notes. You can hear that these pretty resonant, and then this one, we got a dead note because it has a large crack on the backside that you can't see from the front. So this is more of like a bass or a tenor bamboo xylophone, and then this one is the soprano. I think this one also has some cracked notes. up like in a cylindrical case, which is pretty cool. And then again, they're all labeled and easy to assemble. So this is a Wurlitzer 120 that I inherited from my stepdad. People say about a lot of Wurlitzers, this is the model that Ray Charles played. I think that Ray Charles played every model of Wurlitzer that there was at some point. But this one has a built-in speaker, and strangely, it has this headphone jack or like an output, and you can't, in order to activate the built-in speaker, you can't have something plugged, you need something plugged into it, but it can't be plugged in all the way. So there's a sweet spot where you can get that. I love the bass sounds on this one. Gone inside and tried to tune it up as best as I can, replace the felts, but there are some notes that will still just sustain, even with no sustain pedal. I've gone in as best as I can to fix it up, but still has its quirks. I am a huge fan of old American drum companies. I think Ludwig, Slingerland, Rogers, Gretsch. I love the 60s and 70s drums from those companies, so I have quite a few drum kits from that era, from that style. This one's an old Slingerland. I have a bass drum for it in a case somewhere. This is a 70s Slingerland that I had. This is a very, very unique kit. I probably should have set it up for you. It has 3 rack toms that are arranged in a triangular fashion, and then it has a floor tom. They called it the Avante model, and I have never seen an Avante model kit with this red, white, and blue. This came out in 1976 for the bicentennial, the United States bicentennial, the 200th anniversary. So that one's kind of like a one-of-a-kind kit. This is a 60s Ludwig kit. This drum kit has been toured internationally with me. This is my my bread and butter, old trusty. I played this with Ethiopian pop bands, with reggae bands, with rock bands. I played it on jazz gigs, country gigs, a real workhorse. And then over here is a separate kit that I have toms for it. I was using this for a Beatles cover band that I was in, because this is the same wrap that Ringo Starr used, the Black Oyster Pearl. This one's just fun because I love Ringo, and he's this was the color that Ringo played, so those kits are worth more than others only because Ringo played that color, which is kind of fun. Nice. Yeah, this is the percussion corner. I've got a lot of cool things back here. This is kind of a wacky percussion instrument, but these discs are filled with water, and you can hit it. Sounds kind of otherworldly. I'm a huge fan of like found sound percussion stuff. I have no idea what this is supposed to be, but I thought that it sounded similar to a triangle, just a little bit different. For a long time I accompanied modern dance classes, and I'd be like a one-man band, so I'd be playing some sort of drum or some sort of keyboard. This is nice because then you can be playing piano and keeping some sort of pulse with your foot happening at the same time. Finger cymbals, classic sounds. Again, percussion instruments that have multiple articulations. This one's got a good muted sound. It's got a good open sound. And it has a good scraping sound. So you can play patterns with the different articulations. This is a cool found sound percussion instrument. These are all jar lids, or can lids I should say. They're just twisted up and tied to a shaker handle, so then you can get a good shaker sound. I like this for like, a little bit of that crunchy clap sound, like on a backbeat. If you've got a rock track, hip-hop beat, you can add this in for a nice thickening of a backbeat. Tons of shakers, too many shakers. I'll have to look up the specific model that this one is. It's some sort of Meinl studio shaker, specifically for the studio. And this one, I will say, ends up making it onto most tracks if I'm looking for a shaker sound. This one just kind of blends in the perfect amount where it doesn't stick out too much, but it adds that layer of rhythmic subdivision that you want to kind of increase the rhythmic energy.
The outsider thinks that all shakers and tambourines are made equal, and they're absolutely not made equal.
Yes. Yeah, as far as tambourines go, I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 tambourines here. And I will say that the more I have spent on a tambourine, the more I have gotten out of it. For example, there are 2 tambourines here. Again, this Grover tambourine, I bought this when I was studying percussion in college. I studied orchestral percussion in college. And this is an orchestral tambourine. Even though it's an orchestral tambourine, I use it on the majority of the rock tracks that I'm recording on. It sounds richer, it sounds nicer than a lot of other tambourines that I've ever used. You can see I've got the back muted. It has like a really open head sort of sound. If similar to like a frame drum, something like this. The head of that tambourine, if I didn't have it muted, it sounds very bongy, like this. I love, again, muted sounds, open sounds, and anything in between. This one has a cool little thumb handle on the back. I like that. I bought this on my birthday last year. There's a lot of this stuff, like this was a used drum at a drum shop, and I was like, how much is this? And the guy was like, I don't know, maybe $5. And I was like, $5, perfect, it's mine now.
That's an easy decision.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of times where percussion instruments can, maybe not seem like the most ideal thing at the time, but then you can find cool ways to work them into a track. This is an Egyptian tambourine called a rick, and I like you're supposed to hold it and play it like this, where you can hit the head. You can play the jingles with your fingers, so you can play like, rock beats, kind of like a... You can play any tambourine that way, but that's kind of the, the instrument that I learned that style on is this Egyptian rick. Alright, Q. So I've got these, this set of congas over here. I've always wanted a set of congas, but I've played percussion in many bands, and I told myself that if I was ever going to buy a set of congas, that I was going to wait until I could buy a set of really nice ones. These are LP classics, which, just like it sounds, they're pretty classic as far as like a flagship conga goes. These are bongos, but they're made out of wood, so wood bongos, made by Meinl. And just like the gongs that we're sampling today, this, to me, sounds unusual and cool as a fast subdivision in if you're layering percussion instruments, which I think you should be layering percussion instruments. Again, I like deep sounds for more of a slow pulse, mid sounds for more of backbeat type sounds, high sounds can be backbeats too, but then especially high-pitched percussion instruments like this one. It's just divided into two sections, and it gives you two distinct pitches, so high and low. And you can play them like normal bongos. But I think that this one makes for a really cool high-pitched subdivision. Again, I think woods and metals make really nice fast subdivisions. Same but different, as they say in Thailand. It's same as bongos, but slightly different because they're made out of wood. Similar to the cuica as far as a tension drum goes. This is a talking drum. I have a brother who lives in Tanzania in Africa, and he brought this back from Africa one trip when he came back to the United States. Talking drum, many people have seen them, but ropes are connected to two heads on this drum, and again, when a drum head is loose with little tension, then it's low, and when you have lots of tension, so you can squeeze these ropes, and it increases the tension on both heads, so you can raise the pitch. People call this a talking drum. I am not super skilled at this. You can play this as a melodic instrument. I play it more of just a, high pitch and a low pitch instrument. So that's the talking drum. This is people use these are called Boomwhackers. They use them in a children's ensemble a lot because kids, this is hard plastic. Kids can't break them. These are an instrument where you can give them to a little kid, and they can go to town just banging away right away. There's plenty of pieces that have been written for Boomwhackers, again for kids ensembles, but the idea is you just bang them against the ground and you get a different pitch. So this one's a C, this one's a D, this one's an E, then we go up to G, we got an A, and then a C, for a pentatonic scale. And again, you can play like different rhythms, different melodies with these. Pitched percussion instruments sound amazing to me. These ones kind of one articulation thing. You can buzz them on the ground, but mostly just that one pitch. You can hit them against anything you want though, and that's kind of cool. You can hit them against your hand. But yeah, Boomwhackers, super fun. I think when I was around 4 or 5, I asked my mom for drum lessons, and I couldn't tell you why back then. And she said, you have to take piano. So I took piano lessons for a year, and I hated it. I didn't like my teacher, so I quit. And then when I was around 10 or 11, I heard the Jimi Hendrix song Fire with Mitch Mitchell on drums, and didn't turn back since then. I asked for drum lessons again. That time my mom agreed, and had a great teacher, and never looked back since then. Started playing in bands in high school, rock bands, jam bands, went to college to study orchestral percussion, and then have been a gigging drummer, drum teacher, now music library composer ever since. So it's really, for me, it's the only thing that I've ever really wanted to do was be in a band, play drums, make music. And then as I started writing music, it became more of, I want to write music, and this is the only thing that I've ever really wanted to do in my life. Every time that I've had another, menial job, something smaller, working at Starbucks, working at, a camping store, something like that, the whole time that I'm working, I'm just thinking about, when I get home, what am I going to compose? So I'm happy to have quit all those other jobs and gone into composing music full-time in the last 5 years. So very, very psyched. As a library composer, the styles that have done the best for me have been percussion-only music. This is a niche for me as a drummer. It sounds best when a guitar player is playing guitar music. It doesn't sound as good if I play guitar music, even though I can play guitar. Same thing with keyboards. I'm well versed in keyboards because I studied mallets in school. I can play 4-mallet vibraphone, 4-mallet marimba. Therefore, I can walk up to a piano and, figure my way around. But it would sound way better if a pianist is playing piano music. And for me, being a percussionist, percussion-only music has been a specialty of mine in library. That being said, I will say that writing just straight-up jingles, they have done quite well for me also. I'm talking happy, clappy, whistly, cheerful songs. When people are selling stuff, they need happy songs. And, more people write sad music than happy music. So if you can find yourself writing happy, cheerful music, that will always have a place in the library world. You'll always be able to make money doing that. So I'm lucky to have gotten my foot in the door with percussion music. Again, I think of like specialty, be a specialist at something. For me, I've been a specialist in percussion music. And then once you get your foot in the door, that can open opportunities for making other types of music. I've made orchestral music, jingle music. These days, because I moved to Nashville, I've been making a lot of, I've been co-writing with a buddy, doing a lot of country music, folk music, Americana music, Southern styles. I've been doing library music full-time for about 5 years. So if anybody wants lessons, consultations, I'm happy to listen to your music or talk through with you, how you can improve your music, things that have worked for me, as well as how to approach libraries. So sending that cold email or, you have an album, now how do you pitch yourself? How do you pitch it? I can share some things that have worked for me.
While editing this video, I'm also finishing up the muted Gongs contact instrument. Hope to have that for you next week. Check the links in the description for more information about Scott and what he's up to, and I'll talk to you next week.
The idea behind getting the cloth wet is you want as much friction as possible, and the friction causes the drum head to vibrate. So that's kind of the sound that we're after. You can hear why it's called the monkey drum.